Today we're going to be focusing on web content and experience management technology, aka web CMS or WCM technology. And this is really one of my favorite topics these days. Is bigger always better? As you know, it's a very fragmented marketplace with a lot of different technologies, a lot of vendors saying they can do a lot of different things, and as a customer, you've never had more choices. And I think as customers, we also see a great diversity in needs. So what's the right way to match up? And certainly there's a lot of emphasis among analyst firms and consultancies to go with some of the bigger, better known names. I'm not sure that's always right, but we're going to explore today, is bigger always better? Is bigger always better? Many of you may have seen this commercial. It's airing in North America for a big telco, where there's a guy who goes around querying children, isn't bigger always better? And of course, they talk about chocolate bars and desserts and stuff, and they say, yeah, bigger is always better. And I think that there's almost that kind of sense in the air in the WCM marketplace as well, particularly among major analyst firms and major systems integrators who are saying, look, there are these extremely capable, powerful platforms. If you are undergoing a digital transformation, and aren't all of we, shouldn't you be out in front of that and really go with these big, powerful systems which are going to take you into the next generation of digital experience capabilities? And of course, there's some truth to that, but I actually think we also have to question that as well. And I think now more than ever, we see customers with a greater risk of overbuying this technology than underbuying. In other words, with advanced platforms actually slowing them down rather than speeding them up. So my answer to is bigger always better is no. Bigger is not always better. In fact, bigger is often not better. But sometimes you do need a big, complicated platform. And I'll try to explain when and why. So if you're not familiar with Real Story Group, we do research. We evaluate these technologies head-to-head, compare the strengths and weaknesses of the vendors. We look in particular at sort of deep architectural issues, long-term vendor patterns, it's just things that can have an impact on your long-term success. And then for our subscribers, we advise them in their technology decision-making so that they can make the right decision. So we do phone and site visits to our subscribers to help them be really smart and do the right things. We are known, I think, for our unusual independence. We don't consult with vendors. We don't speak at their events. We don't do their sorts of road shows. We don't write white papers for them. We don't shill for them. And that gives us the ability to really speak our minds and say what you, the customers, are really telling us about these tools. And I think a lot of you are telling us, in fact, that you're struggling with some of the big name vendors. And these are the ones that tend to be very popular in the upper right-hand quadrants of major analyst charts. So we're fortunate that none of these vendors are customers of ours, so we can tell it to you straight. And if you've been following us for a while, you know we cover a variety of different technologies. Today we're going to talk about web content and experience management. Many of the conclusions here, I think, can be appropriate for other sorts of technologies as well, including certainly brand and digital asset management and digital marketing technology as well, where there's a lot of emphasis to go out and license sort of big name platforms. And quite honestly, a lot of customers getting into trouble there as well. Okay, so the agenda here is to really make a distinction between platforms versus products. And at some level, this is part of really the big versus small debate. Show you some examples, some simple rules about how to think about it yourself as a customer, and where do you want to slot yourself on this continuum, and then what's the right way to match your requirements to the right technology, right? So we always say the best fit technology, not the best technology, but the best fit technology for you. And so how do you get there? We're going to close with some comments about that. This is some of the criteria that we use in our WCM research report. These are some of the things that we look at when we look at WCM technology. And you can see they fall into three columns here. Technology services around things like administration, security, development, performance. And the middle column is content services. These are more typically enterprise-facing for marketers and content people to contribute content, to tag it, reuse content, manage assets, put it through a workflow, deal with archiving, and that sort of thing. Then finally, customer-facing or experience services around publishing, multi-channel, mobile, digital marketing, of course, increasingly important, and so forth. So at a functional standpoint, this is one way of looking at the technology. This is useful in terms of explaining how the technology works, so it's a useful framework for us. It's not always a particularly useful framework for actually evaluating the vendors because some certain things are going to be more important in different contexts. And the goal is, of course, not that a vendor can do all this sorts of stuff, but that the things that are important to you, that it's the right fit for you. So if we're looking at fit then, we tend to focus more on actual scenarios, the actual usage scenarios. So in the case of Web Content Manager, for example, we isolate 11 different scenarios over on the left, ranging from simpler sites to more mid-range and then more complex things that you might be trying to do, like ultra-large single sites, which we see for very large universities or for news sites, that sort of thing, highly advanced marketing portals. And then digital workplace, finally, that one is a little bit of an outlier in as much as most WCM tools now don't focus a lot on the digital workplace scenario, but some do, and so it's important to keep it in there. But the bottom line is that from a scenario from a scenario standpoint, or actual use cases, what are you going to be doing with the technology? Clearly, there's a spectrum of complexity here as well. And so here's an example of one of the vendors we evaluate, HP TeamSite. A former Autonomy, former Interwoven team site. If you've actually ever used this tool, then you know that it's actually a poor fit for most scenarios. A lot of difficult, unhappy customers. You can see we give it very thin ratings. This is where we disagree, for example, with IDC, Olem, Forrester, and Gartner, who put it typically among the farthest upper right. We would probably put it among the lowest lower left in how it actually matches up to particular use cases. So you can contact us at any time, info@realstorygroup.com. Again, you will be getting a copy of this deck in the next 24 hours or so, and I'm happy to continue the conversation.